That one, as soon as the first 4 bars of that song came on, you said, oh, ELO. They had a particular sound to them, didn't they? And that sound is on its way to Geelong very, very soon. I must point out that when Jason said we've got ELO on the radio this morning, we don't actually have ELO, but we've got very much the next best thing. Whalen Hughes is the lead singer of an outfit that calls themselves Rockaria. Must have been a little hard to come up with that. The ELO Experience, and he's on the telephone line. Yeah, well, beautifully played. Whalen, welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on your program.
A very great pleasure. And the best thing is I get to choose the song. It's Neil here, by the way. The other one's Rob. I get to choose the songs, and that meant I get to choose 2 ELO songs, which is a bit like asking you who's your favourite kid.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought telephone line seemed appropriate. I reckon, given the name of your outfit, I reckon you can probably guess what the second one's going to be.
Whalen, before we start on ELO and the incredible body of work that they produce, let's talk a little bit about you. Tell us a bit about your start in the music industry.
Well, I've been in the music industry for quite a long time now, so I've been doing some other shows, some Eagle shows and stuff like that. So, and about 5 years ago, just before COVID, I thought, I need to do an ELO show because no one's doing it, and I just love their work. So then I thought, okay, put the band together, then we hit COVID.
So as a really, really, really young person, was music always in your family environment or in your world?
Yeah, definitely. I started playing in bands from the age of 16, so...
Just fell in love with it at school, picked up a guitar, and this was your life.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend who said, Mum, my boyfriend's a bass player to this other musician, so I went and auditioned for his band and got in as a bass player, and then been in ever since then, so, yeah.
So who, you've got to be a bit careful when you're asking someone's age, but who was big in the music industry when you were 16?
Bon Jovi, actually.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes us feel a bit better. We were concerned you were going to say Tones and I or someone.
No. Bill Haley and the Comets.
Yeah.
When Rob was 16, it was Gladys Moncrief was very big, and Nellie Melba came on board very soon towards the end of it.
Yeah, I love them, both stars. Now let's get serious. Bon Jovi, they were massive, huge, so you had the mullet to suit, and that's what life was like in your day?
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. Touring around the pubs and the clubs around Australia and doing shows like that kind of music, yeah.
And although you already had a girlfriend, as you previously mentioned, it has been told that in the music industry, the bass player is the one that the girls look at. Did you find that way?
I think, yeah, that's true.
I love it.
Well, it helps.
You're the first one that's admitted to that.
Well, it helps he's incredibly good looking as well. Rob could be a bass player and it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't make any difference.
No, okay.
So I guess that one of the fascinating things I've got, we have a few friends of the show that we've spoken to who desperately want to make a career out of music, and getting that sort of going from being something you do part-time to being your job, that must be A, scary, and B, exciting.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot of hard work. That's the thing. So definitely a lot of hard work. So, and it's just a matter of playing the right music for the audience too. So.
Yes. Who was the golfer who once said, "The harder I work, the luckier I get"? Was it Gary Player?
I think so. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's true. So in the your previous work before ELO come along, were you doing? You said you mentioned some Eagles stuff.
Right.
Where did your music passion take you?
Well, pretty much originally we started off playing a lot of original music, but then obviously to get work, to try and survive, you have to go and play in the pubs, which people want to hear the cover stuff. So then we eventually went down that road and started working, and then I sort of ventured into the tribute show world, which wasn't for me very obvious at the start, but it's turned out to be quite good and quite lucrative business now, the tribute show world. So.
Do you have time to tinker with your own creative side and do some original stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So actually I'm working on an album at the moment, actually.
Oh, when that comes out, you could come back and become a friend of the show. Because friends of the show, you have to be on twice before you're a friend of the show, you understand.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, it sounds good. So I guess the challenge from my perspective, I am I am a really good listener to music, but give me a guitar and I just sort of shake my head and go, no, I used to be able to do it, but not anymore. So by my reckoning, if you wanted to do a tribute show, there's a whole lot of easier bands to take off than ELO.
Yeah.
We've got some friends who are part of a thing called Echoes of Pink Floyd, and I just think they're downright crazy trying to take that on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But they're really good, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Why not choose something a bit easier to start with, or did you? And then you've sort of you've evolved into this.
No, I must be a glutton for punishment because I was doing an Eagle show, which is quite complex. And
Yep.
A lot of good guitaring, vocals and stuff. And I guess the ELO, because no one was doing it, I was such a fan of music, and it is quite complex music, you know. The harmonies and the keyboards, synths, the strings. I thought, yeah, let's do this. This will be exciting, you know. So, and the visual parts of the show is very big in terms of lighting and also the video projection stuff we use. So, yeah, I just find it a real interesting band to play, and it's quite an unexpected audience there because even when I first put the show together, people thinking, I don't think ELO will work, but been proven wrong.
To Whalen, with the rest of the group, because it is so complex, was it a case of a group of mates sitting around and say, let's do this, or was it you saying, well, we've really got to get this right, so I need to get them in particular to do this particular role?
Yeah, I've always been surrounded by really good players, so it was, I had a core group of guys that I've used that are great players, and yeah, we just over time put it together. Like I said, we were putting it together before COVID, and then we sort of ran into that, which messed things up a bit. But yeah, the show, we've relaunched it, and yeah, there's lots of interest out there for it. So.
Well, we could do this, Rob. We could do either Status Quo or Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. We don't need to learn one song.
Yeah, that's quite true. I mentioned that off air, and getting back to your question, why would you pick something so complex? But I guess as a musician, you'd want to challenge yourself, so to speak. You like the sound, but being really authentic, like the guys from Pink Floyd were. Neil and I went to see that show. That was extraordinary. How close they were, and you've obviously put a very high standard on yourselves.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely. Put a lot of work into it. So, I mean, and ELO have a very particular, noticeable sound, you know. So it was all about recreating that sound. That's what, you know, we really wanted to do.
The other thing I remember from 1976-ish when they first hit, because they were competing with Queen at the time. They were the other really big supergroup at the time. And Queen had a fella out the front, I think his name was Freddie somebody or other, who sort of carried the show. With ELO, Jeff Lynne wasn't quite the same outgoing character, but he did have brightly coloured brass instruments. That's what I always remember. He had pink trombones and bright blue cellos. I know they're not brass instruments,
That's right. They're quite out there. And the blue violin.
Yeah. That was outstanding.
Yeah, exactly. So, definitely way out there.
It's it's very difficult to take on something like that, obviously. But when you and the group, I guess you look at a lot of old videos and things and try and get down even the body language that comes across in the band.
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, it's all about the music and the harmonies and the sound. That's where we base the show on. So we're not like a show that sort of takes you back to 1977 and we stay there, because ELO had quite a long career through the mid to late 70s and into the 80s. So we kind of incorporate a very modern aspect of ELO, and pretty much like you would go see ELO now, which Jeff Lynne is on his final tour now. So that's the angle we take on the show, is that it encompasses, ELO from the 70s to 80s and even a little bit later, and how they are now. So
with that too, do you need to contact the management of ELO to get permission to do this, or have you sent your work to them for their approval? How does that work?
No. We just go through APRA, and we obviously pay to use the songs. Every show we have to get a license to pay to use the songs. But other than that, pretty much like any tribute show, and we're all the same. So as long as you're paying your royalties and stuff like that, everything's quite fine.
So if you were backstage one night and Jeff Lynne rocked up and said, "Well done, guys, that was very good. I enjoyed that," that'd probably give you a great sense of pride.
definitely. I'd love to meet Jeff Lynne. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, apparently Hank B. Marvin, he turned up to a Cliff Richard show and no one saw him because he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Which is really funny, ironic, because before COVID, I did a Cliff Richard show, actually.
Well, there you go. I was quite happy with that, actually.
Yeah.
You should have seen the look on his face then, Whalen. It's something between amusement and disgust. He's...
I've heard it a couple of times, so it's discussed now.
There's a sense that there are two kinds of tribute bands in my mind. One is the one that desperately tries to capture the sound,
Yep.
which we'll call, maybe it's not the right word, but imitation band. And then there's the seriously tribute band that says we're never going to be as good as them, so we're just playing it according to our take on it. The echoes of Pink Floyd, guys, when you close your eyes, you are effectively listening to Pink Floyd. Is that what we're getting with the ELO experience?
Yeah, exactly. And that's very, a comment we get a lot is it's unbelievable how much we sound like ELO. Even sound guys that have done our show and go, wow, this actually sounds like ELO. I said, yeah, well, that's the whole point. Isn't it?
You sound so much like Status Quo. It's extraordinary.
And the other reason why I elevate you guys so highly is that we hear Pink Floyd out of a recording studio, so they get a chance to edit and mix and do all that sort of stuff, and you copy that identically on stage live in that exact moment. That is extraordinary.
It is, actually. It's a lot of hard work, and you've got to get it right, and that's the thing. Especially with the fans, especially hardcore fans who, like ELO and that, they really appreciate that you're recreating the sound, and that's what our job is, so, yeah.
But to do that, does it become boring because you've got to churn out the same sound every time without having an opportunity to step outside of the boundaries?
No, not really, because I love the music so much.
Yeah, okay. I guess, yes.
And what's really surprising is, after the show we go out in the foyers and meet the audience, and, so many people come up and say, how much they love the show, and brought back all these memories of, when they were young, in their cars, driving around, listening to ELO, and that actually is really rewarding. That's actually probably the highlight for me of the whole journey of doing this stuff, is meeting the people, the fans afterwards, and the comments you get back is really 100% worth it.
Now, Whalen asked this question to people in your situation. Let's pretend that ELO never existed, but Whalen Hughes is in a tribute band doing a very high quality show. What would it be?
Oh.
Well, clearly Eagles and Cliff Richard are up there.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I really love the Eagles.
No, not so much one that you've done, one that you would
Aspire
like
to.
to aspire to do, one that really drove you as a youngster.
I don't know. That's
You don't grow the mullet back and do Bon Jovi?
No, it's not. I love it. They were popular in my teen years, but it's not for me to do a tribute show on them. So
We're now going to make that horror look come back on Rob's face. Rob, what would it be if you were doing it?
Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
Neil Diamond, yeah, very popular. Right?
I would like to have a day in the life of Neil Diamond.
Yeah, well, I've got half of it being Neil.
Yeah, well, you have.
Yeah. He'd want to do it on a really hot August night, though. That's the only thing. I reckon I would love to do Wings Over America, that tour. I reckon that would,
okay.
to be Paul McCartney, have my wife on keyboards pretending to play, to have Denny Lane standing next to me. I reckon that would be grouse.
But you just insulted the late Linda McCartney then, did you?
She wasn't a very good keyboard player.
I think
it's fair to say.
To ELO is that no one was really doing it. That's another thing and I thought, well, why isn't someone doing ELO? I mean, the amount of music they've had, the catalogue, and I could never understand that. That's why I thought, okay, I've got to do this, So, and I think we're kind of probably one of the only bands in Australia that actually, I think there's one other show around that just does the basic clubs, but on this sort of tribute show level, playing the theatres and stuff like that, I think we're the only one doing it. So
I just mentioned to you off air, and I think it's worth mentioning about Jeff Lynne, because up until the Travelling Wilburys was released, and I looked at it and thought, what the hell is he doing in amongst those greats of the music industry? And then I did some research on Jeff Lynne outside of ELO, and what an extraordinary individual he has been and spread across the whole industry in such an incredible way.
Yeah, well, I think, and there's a real love for Jeff Lynne, I think, amongst the audience, even with the time with the ELO, but him just as a musician, a songwriter, producer, there's actually quite a love for that man. So it's really
I'm almost to the point where I can forgive him for Xanadu.
Well, the funny thing is, yeah, that's right, but the thing is, when we play it, because we play that song in the show because it's important because they wrote it for Olivia Newton-John and
yes.
Sylvia Newton-John and ELO together, but it goes over really well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nothing wrong with the song.
Do you do it on roller skates?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing. Because you bring the roller skates back from your Cliff Richard show.
Well, that's exactly right.
Couldn't you, with your Walkman?
I think you've been a bit harsh on the song. The movie might have been duddish, but there's nothing wrong with the song.
No, the song's great. It's a really good song.
Yeah, but you did the whole score. That was the high point of it.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because Cliff Richard was part of that movie, wasn't he? In the song with Olivia and John.
Oh, could be right. Yes, yes. Suddenly, wasn't it?
He's popped up a lot in this interview.
Yeah, hasn't he?
Hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So on the other thing that we probably should address is the fact that he was 20% of the Travelling Wilburys, and sadly after Roy passed away, 25% of the Travelling Wilburys. Do any of the Travelling Wilburys songs make it into your show, or is it exclusively ELO?
Yeah, definitely. That's a big part of it. So we do things like Last Night, Handle with Care.
Oh, magnificent.
So, and when you play those songs, people just love it. So,
Yeah.
The Travelling Wilburys were quite a.
Oh, that was a sensational album, one of my favourite all times, and then the story behind how it was created makes it even better, I think, because it was a...
What's your story?
Well, the story was that George Harrison needed someone to help him write a song, so he rang Tom, and then Tom thought Jeff's in town, Jeff can come, and Roy was doing nothing, so we'll get Roy along, and next thing they're in this room just being creative genii for 2 days, probably. Well, I know that their girls came around and provided a little bit of food, and they got some sustenance from elsewhere and created a masterpiece.
Exactly.
It's just an incredible story.
And here's a piece of trivia. I'm full of trivia this morning.
You are.
I'm led to believe that the first album is called The Travelling Wilburys Volume 1. The second album is called The Travelling Wilburys Volume 3.
That fits perfectly in with the sense of humour of the boys at the time.
And also the fact that they thought that someone would do some kind of bootleg, so they left Volume 2 available for someone to use as the name.
I love this story, Whalen, when they were, I can't remember the actual song, but they were singing these completely loose, not connected lyrics, and they were just walking around a microphone and each took it in turns to say something. So it was basically music on the run. They just literally made it up as they went along. Extraordinary stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, all those guys in their own right were good songwriters. Bob Dylan, George Harris, and Jeff Lynne, and all that sort of stuff. So Tom Petty. So
yeah, are you doing Tweeter and the Monkey Man?
Tweeter and the Monkey Man, no.
That was on that album. That was a magnificent song.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That was more Dylan, I think, than anyone. It had Bob Dylan written all over it, but collectively brilliantly done.
Yeah.
Well, you're coming to our town, are you, mate?
Definitely to the Geelong Arts Centre.
Yep.
Friday, June the 6th. They've got a show there, 7 p.m. show, 7:30 p.m.
Have you been to our town before?
I have been to Geelong before, yeah.
The Arts Centre has had a revamp, and it is a spectacular venue. I hope you'll love it, because everyone who goes there now we are privileged to have a venue like this, and it attracts acts of your quality. And we now have a pretty regular lineup of superstars coming to town, so it's pretty good. So welcome to a long list of superstars, mate.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much.
So it is Friday the 6th of June, 7:30 p.m. at Geelong Arts Centre. Now, I'm sure you can get the tickets there, but better, go to the website, which is Rockaria, ELOexperience.com. I'll say that again. It's all one word. There's no dots or underscores or anything like that.
Yep.
Rockaria, ELOexperience.com. And when you go to that page, it comes up pretty much on screen. You can get tickets. There's a button there that says get tickets. I might have a crack at that after lunch to come along and see, because that just sounds, I think the word grouse is the word I would like to use to describe what that sounds like
Grouse
to me.
Is a good word.
What can we expect on the night?
Big show, exciting show, big light show, big screens, and playing all the best of ELO, right down from Evil Woman, Last Train to London, Mr. Blue Sky, Rock and Roll's King, Living Things. So yeah, it's gonna be a great night.
Sounds like there's lots of songs. It might even be a new world record.
I hope so.
Have you seen what I've done there?
No, I missed it. Is that
the
one of their songs?
The name of one of their albums.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, Neil.
It's really hard sometimes, Whalen, working here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so we would look forward to that. And if you can't be there on Friday the 6th, or if you're listening up the road, there's another one. There's a facility somewhere in South Melbourne. It's called the Crowan Casino, something, Crown Casino. That's on Saturday the 7th. So if your footy team's playing on the Friday night, for example, you go, no, I'm not going to go. You can go on the Saturday night up to the casino and you can have a crack there as well.
That's right, exactly.
Magnificent.
Whalen.
Right.
Oh, you say it because we both went Whalen at the same time there.
Whalen, thank you so much. It is a very, very enjoyable chat. We love what you're doing and look forward to seeing you blasting Geelong on June the 6th.
Excellent.
Guess what song we're playing?
Entertain me.
No. I think we'll all know from the first note. Here it is.